The scavenged metal body of the ship rumbled softly as it entered the gravity well of Delta. For a distant moon, circling the gas giant Theros, its surface was bathed in the soft glow of turquoise and cream, the colors mingling int. A stunning tableau that stretched as far as the eye could see Captain Leela Marlowe, an intrepid explorer with an appetite for the unknown, pilot the aging craft with a sense of wonder that belied her years. "Any one home," she whispered int. The stillness of the cockpit, though she knew no reply would come. The comms were silent. They had been for the last stretch of their journey. The rest of her crew was busy securing supplies, making a mental checklist of resources, and preparing for the expedition that lay ahead. Their spirits were high, tinged with nervous anticipation as they set out on this uncharted world. "What's the status on atmospheric readings?" Lila asked, glancing at her co-pilot Chris Rossetti, who had a penchant for daydreaming and an ability to unravel the mysteries of stars and planets, but often forgot the mundane tasks of spacecraft navigation. "Stable," he replied, his eyes gleaming with excitement as he tapped a few keys on the control panel. "Breathable, and look at those data fluctuations, those hills. There's an anomaly just beyond that range. We should check it out." Lila smiled at his infectious enthusiasm, feeling her chest swell with warmth. Chris was the embodiment of a child on their first school trip, ready to tackle the unknown with the sincerity of someone who had yet to be jaded by the gravity of responsibility. "All right, let's get this tin can on the ground. We're here for discovery," she said, the thrill of it unraveling, a smile on her face mean, while below the distant moon begged to be explored. As Delta 4 came into focus, the dappled surface revealed itself more clearly, soaring peaks and undulating valleys, shimmering fields of metallic rock catching the light of the distant sun in brief flashes. Swaths of vibrant greenery blossomed at irregular intervals, surprising for a so distant and often forgotten. It was as if the land itself were breathing, sighing in response to the new visitors. They touched down with a gentle thud, the ship settling int. A hollowed glen, surrounded by a gradient of towering trees, punctuating the horizon. These weren't just ordinary trees, though their leaves glimmered under the weak moon light and twinkled like stars, casting a gentle glow up. "And the landing site, what do you think will be our first step?" asked Nima, the ship's engineer, sitting with a wrench in hand, her bright braids framing her determined face. Her sharp mind put together mechanical puzzles, just as she pieced together the mystery of this new world. "Let's set up a perimeter, then we venture out," Lila suggested, opening the hatch and inhaling the sweet crisp air, feeling it envelop her like a warm embrace. Something about this moon felt alive, almost aware of their presence. They all stepped out int, the unknown brimming with curiosity and int, a landscape that sparkled beneath the soft light of its distant sun. The moment their boots touched the surface, the ground seemed to hum lightly beneath them, sending a ripple of astonishment through the grip. Chris took the first few steps int, the thick rid foliage, marveling at the colors and light. "Everything feels different here," he said with a reaching out to touch the iridescent moss that covered the ground. It pulsed with each touch, illuminating the dark underbelly of the leaves above like a tiny galaxy exploded int. Being. "Look, see how it glows." Chris turned, his eyes bright as comets. He was collecting snippets of nature's language like fireworks in the sky. "It's beautiful," Nima commented, bending down and brushing her fingers through the vibrant streamers of color. She glanced at Leela as if seeking permission. A nod was all Leela offered, and Nima yanked off her gloves and immersed herself in the unexpected wonder. Leela stood back, arms crossed, smiling fondly at her crew. It was a rare moment of unity amidst their sometimes chaotic lives. They were pioneers on a blank canvas, an unexpected Richard of scientific potential. And Lila took pride in leading her mismatched team of dreamers and doers. Suddenly, a chorus of melodies filled the air, drawing them out of their musings. Not harmonies produced by wind or rustling foliage. but something deeper textured with emotion and resonance, swirling around them like an ethereal dance. "What is that?" Leela whispered, sharing a bewildered glance with Chris and Nima. "Sounds like music," Nima whispered in awe, her voice barely a breath. She looked closer to where the sound ebbed, her heart quickening as fascination brimming within her. "Should we follow it?" Before Leela could answer, Chris was already trotting in the direction of the sound. His curiosity alight, they could all follow. "Hey, wait for us," Nima called, skipping after him, her laughter mingling with the inexplicable music. Leela chuckled softly, shaking her head. She couldn't help but follow. A captain must lead after all. They trudged through a wild land of verdant curves and waves of shimmering colors, feeling the unseen bands of curiosity and connection tighten like a thread between each of them. The music seemed to weave through their souls, nudging at the delicate stitches of humanity they often forgot about in their daily lives. As they moved deeper, they began to see glimpses of life. Little creatures peeked through the foliage, their luminous eyes wide and curious, tiny orbs of light trailing behind them like living shooting stars. They were undoubtedly shy beings retreating into the shadows when approached, but their inquisitive nature permeated the air, swirling around the team in an embrace of unspoken camaraderie. There was something deeply heart-warming about this sudden encounter with the unknown, a realization that Delta IV was more alive than they had initially theorized. The planet held stories, whispers of a life they had yet to uncover. "Look over there," Chris exclaimed, pointing at a small grove where the colors danced wildly, forming a kaleidoscope of brilliance that seemed almost new. "Let's go." As they reached the clearing, a sudden rush of wind pulled the swirling leaves, creating a mini tornado of light. In the center were glimmering flowers, yes, flowers, each petal a painted artwork, that shimmered in packets of color that defied normal spectrums and biology. It felt like they'd stepped into a dream. "Wow," Nima breathed softly, "this is amazing. Do you think we could take samples?" Leela hesitated out of respect for the delicate harmony they were intruding upon. "Let's explore for now," she replied gently, knowing that being here and experiencing it with an open heart was far more valuable than taking home keepsake from their first brief moments on this extraordinary moon. The melody continued to swell, carrying their spirits effortlessly alongside. They exchanged laughter, shared stories of their dreams beneath flickering stars, and their hopes for this mission that brought them far away from home. Curiosity entwined them like the vibrant leaves surrounding the clearing as laughter sparkled like stars in the dusk. They were explorers, artists, and seekers, woven together by a shared fascination that pulsed deep within their very cores. Delta IV, once just another name on a map, now filled with possibility and wonder, was welcoming them with open arms. Yet, unbeknownst to them, the moon had much more to reveal, hidden mysteries and connections to explore waiting just beyond the shining horizon. As the sun dipped lower, casting the long shadows of twilight, they would soon find the echo of life ringing louder, cradling them in a symphony much deeper than the surface beauty they had encountered so far. "What do you think lives here?" Chris murmured, squinting now at the shadows, but captivated to turn away. "I don't know," Leela replied, a small grin on her lips, a sense of unrefined excitement vibrating through her. "But I have a feeling we're going to discover much more than we'd ever expected." And as they stood on that distant moon, the music whispering to them through the leaves, they were blissfully unaware that they had already begun a journey that would forever change not just their understanding of family and connection, but also how their lives would intertwine with the inhabitants of this radiant world far from home. The sun kissed the horizon, painting Delta IV in hues of deep orange and lilac. Leela, Chris, and Nima stood transfixed as the floral grove seemed to pulse with life, each flower vibrating with the melody that echoed in the air around them. It was an enchanting spectacle, but what struck Leela more profoundly were the connections growing among them as they shared this moment of beauty and astonishment. Chris, always the eager adventurer, took a tentative step toward the floral grove, a childlike wonder written across his face. He reached out, his fingers brushing against the delicate petals, They lit up beneath his touch, a radiant display that made him gasp in delight. Lila couldn't remember the last time she'd seen someone so unreservedly joyful. It was a feeling she longed to share with him gently. Chris, Nima cautioned, though her voice was laced with affection. We don't want to disturb anything. These might be fragile. He turned eyes wide, as if he'd been captured by a magic spell. But look at how they respond. They're alive. He paused, laughter bubbling up within him like the starlight around them. It's like they're welcoming us, maybe. They are, Lila said softly, taking a step closer. She joined Chris, brushing her own fingertips along the petals, as they brightened, a mirrored reaction of excitement. Every living thing wants to connect, doesn't it? As her fingers illuminate in the blooms, she felt a sense of kinship with the flowers and with her crew, who had become a strange and beautiful family in their quest for exploration. Let's celebrate this moment together, Nima suggested with a warm smile, an unofficial first contact with Delta 4. The idea sparked something joyous within them all. They began to dance in the luminous clearing, twirling amid glittering petals and pulsing light. Lila laughed, her heart racing with freedom, a feeling she hadn't experienced in far too long. It was childlike, glee, fleeting yet potent, a reassurance that even in the unknown connection could be found. As they whirled together, the ground beneath them hummed, harmonizing with the breathing hues of Delta 4. It was as if the moon itself recognized the essence of their friendship, binding them closer in this moment of shared joy. Lila cowled, and helped but wonder if the magnificent grove was aware of their dance. Is the celebration of life growing around them a cycle of beauty, kindness, and communion? Gradually, their exhilaration waned and they collapsed onto a soft patch of moss, breathless and giggling. The musical whispers filled the space around them, as if echoing the laughter that was woven into the air. Can you believe how lucky we are? Chris said, looking up at the sky. It feels like a dream. You know what this moment makes me think of? Nima chimed in, her voice gentle yet strong. It reminds me of those camp fires we used to have, just us under the stars. We'd tell stories, share secrets, and the world felt so big yet so warm. At the same time, every word brought us closer. Lila felt a wave of nostalgia wash over her, pulling her into shared memories from long ago, when they were young and their futures were bright with possibilities. Would they have known then that they would find solace in distant corners of the universe together? Those moments meant everything, she agreed quietly. They built the foundation for who we are today. Nima smiled at Lila, her kind eyes flickering with a deep understanding. And look at where we are now, a tiny dot in the cosmos, yet together we are everything. Suddenly, the song shifted, becoming slightly more intense, rising to a crescendo that felt both exhilarating and urgent. Don't you feel that? Chris asked, sitting up suddenly. It's almost like it's changing, pushing. Before any of them could decipher the shift, something remarkable happened. The flowers in front of them began to part, as if creating a portal through the grove. Their colors pulsed rhythmically, bright and inviting, as if beckoning them into the depths of the unexplored. What's happening? Lila whispered, a mix of caution and wonder mingling in her voice. Maybe it's a sign, Nima replied, her brows furrowing in thought. The flora here could be reacting to our emotions. It's possible. There might be more to this world, and maybe someone or something is waiting for us on the other side. Chris' eyes sparkled with excitement, embers of adventure igniting within him. Then, we have to see it. We can't let fear hold us back. This could be monumental. Lila's heart raced as she weighed the excitement against the potential dangers of the unknown, yet in that moment the connection they'd forged together felt like an impenetrable, and she could feel both of their gaze on her, searching for reassurance. We can investigate, but we need to stay together, no straying in the unknown alone. They nodded in agreement, and with resolute hearts they stood, intertwining their hands to forge an unbroken circle of camaraderie. This physical connection symbolized their unified purpose and reflected the emotional bands they had nurtured over the years. As they ventured through the shimmering passage, Lila cowl and shake, a feeling of nervous anticipation. It was exhilarating yet precarious, the dance of what lies be, and mingled with the warmth they had cultivated with one another. The beauty of the corridor enveloped them as they stepped deeper in't. The grove awakening their sense, as was the fragrance of blossoms that seemed more potent and vibrant than any they'd ever encountered. Everything felt amplified, colors were more radiant, sounds were crisper, and emotions coursed through them like an electric current. When they reached the end of the flowering corridor, they emerged in't. A vast space that took their breath away. Before them lay undulating hills of iridescent grass, where flowers glimmered like stars in a vast galaxy of green. Off in the distance was a massive waterfall that cascaded down shimmering rocks, painting the air with rainbows that danced in the early twilight. Lila felt a pull towards the waterfall, its bubbling sound like a soothing balm against the mounting tension inside her. "Let's go closer," she urged, gesturing as bright-eyed as a child. Chris hurried ahead, his laughter cascading like the water itself. "This place feels magical with found energy." The trio ran toward the enchanting sight, their footsteps swift and light, leaving behind trace of joy in the cool, damp earth. But as they approached, the atmosphere shifted again in the shadows near the waterfall. Lila noticed something unusual. With careful steps, she drew closer, intrigued by a strange yet familiar shape nestled between the rocks. She could make out the silhouette of a creature obscured by the shimmering cascade. It appeared feeble, trembling, as water droplets dripped from its strange plumage. "Wait!" Lila called to her companions, halting them in their tracks. The creature lifted its head, dark eyes meeting hers. It let out a soft whine, and the sound ratcheted it up, her concern to a new intensity. "It looks hurt," Nemo whispered, stepping toward it with caution. "We should help. Let's take a closer look," Chris proposed, his adventurous spirit momentarily tempered by compassion. "We know how to be gentle." The creature, a small bird like being touched with flash, is of vibrant blue and deep green, flinched as if it sensed their intentions but instinctively trusted their presence. It had delicate feathered wings that had been caught between the rocks, leaving it unable to rise. Lila knelt, slowly extending a trembling hand. "Can you understand us?" she asked softly. "We want to help." The creature gazed at her with wide eyes, contemplating the surprise of kindness before it, as Chris reached down to free its wing from the slippery stones. Nima cradled the bird-like creature so gently it would have felt like a whisper against its tender skin. Lila watched, her heart hammering in her chest, as the creature relaxed under their touch, a band quietly forming between them. Together, they released it from its predicament, and as soon as it was free, the small creature fluttered upward, briefly caught by instinct before losing its strength mid-air. With a breath catching in her throat, Lila reached out again, gently catching it and allowing it to rest in her palm. It was surprisingly warm against her skin, and she felt a surge of gratitude from the little being as it nestled against her fingers. "We've got you," she reassured it softly. "You're safe now." As Chris and Nima rallied around, her excitement transformed into something deeper. They realized that this moment was the very essence of their journey, the interconnectedness of all living creatures, no matter how small. Lila felt a swell of affection for not only the creature cradled within her hands, but also for her fearless crew, the people who stood by her, willing to offer their hearts as they embraced life's complexities. They may have set out to discover distant worlds, but here they were, discovering the kindness that dwelled deep within their hearts. The little creature lifted its head, slowly gazing right into Lila's eyes, as if appreciating their gesture. As it finally regained strength, its wings began to flutter. It seemed to dance in their embrace, spurred by gratitude and hope. "Let it go," Nima smiled gently. "You have to let it fly free." Lila nodded, fighting back the urge to keep the creature close. With a soft, encouraging breath, she extended her hand, a golden arc into the air. The little being took a moment, studying her with careful eyes before it took off into the sky. It twirled gracefully, spiraling up higher and higher, transforming into a flicker of color against the fading twilight. There it glistened, flying free, at last joining the constellations above, just as they had felt connected to one another on that vibrant moon. Together, Chris murmured, watching the creature take flight, "We created something beautiful, a sense of accomplishment settled within Leela, but it was paired with a bitterness, with sadness as she realized that their own journey was only more deeply intertwined with this little creature's life. That unfurling connection would create ripples beyond what they could possibly measure, an impact on something greater than themselves. As they gathered together, the cooling air wrapped around them with a gentle embrace, and the connection they had forged felt more tangible than ever, an anchoring warmth grounding them. Ahead pulsed the rhythm of Delta IV. Whether through mysterious valleys or the depth of understanding, they now existed together within a web of life that transcended the mere expanse of the universe they had come to explore. "Let's promise to cherish all that we encounter," Nema said, catching their fingers within the warmth of her palm, "to honor this land and its creatures, and protect the kindness we find here." "Agreed," Leela replied, the notion filling her with strength. "This journey is just about discovery, it's about nurturing too." Chris nodded, determination igniting in his spirit. Together, well, not just explore, well, join the pulse of this world. One compassionate heart at a time, they looked toward the horizon, their spirits intertwined with hope and gentle understanding. Lila felt certain that Delta IV had so much more to unveil. The melody that still played around them seemed to signal endless possibilities, the warmth of kindness radiating a commitment, binding them tighter together while inviting them to explore further in the unknown. As their adventure continued, the landscape cracked open like a story yet to be written, a world of heartwarming connection awaiting their embrace. And in the darkness of the night, with a landscape as a witness to their bend, they ventured on, unaware of what awaited them next, every step promising to deepen their understanding of home, friendship, and the very essence of kindness. The moon hung high over Delta, for a soft luminescence, casting gentle shadows among the unusual trees woven throughout the vibrant landscape. Leela, Chris, and Nema stood at the edge of the waterfall, its cascading waters glimmering like liquid diamonds. The neatly freed creature, the little bird-like thing they had rescued, hovered near, by flapping its wings rhythmically as if it were a guardian observing their every move. It was a quaint reminder of their kindness, now echoed in the symphony of life that enveloped them. They had been on this moon for several days, and in that brief span of time, they had come to understand so much more than they had ever anticipated. Everywhere they turned, Delta IV revealed its wonders, from peculiar flora that bloomed underfoot to the gentle hum of the winds that seemed to guide their path. The landscape itself felt alive, pulsating with the heart beat of its existence, drawing them in its embrace. Every encounter transformed their view of exploration. They had seen kindness embodied in the luminous creatures of the moon, who welcomed them without hesitation. They had witnessed how interconnected life could be each moment, thread in the tapestry of the universe that wove them closer together, not just as a team, but as a family. After a morning of discovery, mapping the contours of the flora, speaking in hushed tones, as they shared their past dreams, they decided to plant their findings. With their combined knowledge and skills, they proposed an idea that resonated as much with the creatures around them as it did with their hearts. They could contribute to the vibrant ecosystem of Delta IV, to give back as much as they had received. It was a dream born of compassion, a vision to nurture the land that had offered them warmth and friendship. Leela, brimming with excitement, called her crew together. "What if we cultivate a section of the grove?" she suggested. "We could take some samples of the flowers that resonate with the kindness we've felt and plant them in our ship's hydroponics. With the right care, they can flourish there, and when we return home, we'll have a living symbol of this journey with us." Nema's face lit up with understanding. "It's a way to honor Delta IV and create a ripple effect in our own world. We can share what we've learned with others and show them the beauty of connection. These flowers can be reminders of the kindness and hope we found here." Chris grinned widely, his veins racing with ideas. "We can even create a small garden. If we cultivate the flowers carefully, we can return every year to see how they've grown, not just in the ship but on Delta IV itself." As they put the plan into motion, a sense of unity enveloped them, a deeper understanding of what it meant to explore. They weren't just here to map coordinates or take from this world, they were a part of it, and it was a part of them. This was not merely a mission, but a journey of shared existence. They set about securing their little garden of flowers, gathering seeds that sparkled with hidden potential sustainable for the current and future generations. They shared laughter while they worked, the melodies of their banter mingling with the soft whispers of the breeze that swept down from the hills, the tiniest of movements, the brushing of fingertips against soil, the gentle pressing of one flower against another, mirrored the growing bond they shared. As they returned from a day of gathering, the sun dipped low, draping the landscape in shades of gold and orange. Leela noticed the little creature still flitting about, now with a small entourage of similar beings, all echoing its soft hums together. They encircled the trio with curiosity, fascination, glistening in their eyes. One of the little creatures dove down, fluttering toward Chris until it settled on his shoulder. He chuckled, running his finger along its graceful plumage, in intimate confirmation of the symbiotic relationships they were forging on this moon. "Looks like we have a friend," he said, beaming. The group stood together for a moment, drawing strength from nature around them, a candid attraction that paved the path toward a brighter, collective future. Several days had melted into unforgettable memories, but within their hearts they could feel a rhythm growing, a song with every heart beat that stitched their lives closer together. Here, surrounded by the wonders of Delta, for they were becoming a part of its narrative, a story that transcended the borders of space and time. On the seventh day after their arrival, they set out to plant the seeds they had gathered, determined to cultivate their new community among the extraordinary grove. It was a ritual of sorts, honoring their experience while nourishing the land that had granted them so much. They knew they wouldn't just be placing flowers in the ground. They would be writing a legacy, a manifestation of their hope and humanity. Under the twilight sky, they carved into the earth, intermingling their dreams with the fertile soil. As the stars began to twinkle overhead, they felt the pulse of the land quickening with their laughter. "This is it," Lila said softly, as she placed the last seed deep into the earth. "This is how we become one with our surroundings. This is our commitment to kindness in every corner of the universe." In the nights that followed, Delta 4 seemed to come alive. Hushed nocturnal sounds enveloped them like a lullaby. By whispering the wonders of the cosmos, the creatures in gratitude danced and glowed around their garden, forming trails of luminescent light that twinkled like distant stars. Nature rewarded their labor with increasingly welcoming gestures, echoing the innocence and purity that resonated through their hearts. As days turned into weeks, news of their efforts spread among the creatures of Delta, foregathering a colorful crowd that watched in anticipation as Leela, Chris, and Nemo worked together. They cheered them on with sweet melodies, echoing encouragement throughout the night. They soon learned that each act of love rippled through the land. The plants began to sprout, blooming in vibrant colors, their flowers opening up like smiles, thriving under the care they had given. It felt as if Delta 4 itself was encouraging their hearts, celebrating every progress they made. It wasn't just about the plants, it was an entire ecosystem nurturing life and teaching them the language of community. One particular morning, as sunlight filtered through the branch, Leela noticed something remarkable: a half-dozen creatures converging around their little garden, each one gently laying a single flower at its edge, a gesture of thanks, she realized, and it struck her profoundly. This was a world that honored kindness above all. Leela turned to her crew, a mixture of tears and laughter sparkling in her eyes. "They're thanking us. They see what we've done, what we're trying to create together." Chris beamed, his heart swelling with connection. "And this is only the beginning. We can spread what we've found here through seeds of kindness everywhere we go." They stood in silence for a moment, allowing the weight of the gesture to settle within them, and filled with hope, they understood this was a world of profound interconnection, each creature sharing in the miracle of life and promising to take care of one another beyond the simple act of survival. It was time to return home. Actual preparations were in motion, and with each step toward departure, their hearts illuminated with with emotions they had learned from the land, the creatures, and from each other, and though they had arrived as explorers, they left as a family under a brilliant sky. They gathered around their flourishing garden, each holding a petal from flowers that embodied Delta IV as tokens of warmth and remembrance. They exchanged stories, laughter, and tears as they prepared for their journey back, recognizing that the love they had shared was both universal and unique. They had managed to sow not just seeds in the fertile earth, but seeds in the essence of kindness. Embracing the creatures who had shared in their adventure was an emotional fare. Well, the delicate, feathered beings that had danced with them strengthened their bonds and brightened their days. As they prepared for departure, Lila felt the little one they had saved land gently in her hands, its eyes brimming with understanding. "You were always meant to fly free," she whispered softly, brushing its plumage. She opened her palms, releasing the creature back into the sky. With a final sweep of vibrant wings, it soared high above them, merging into the fabric of stars as a swirl of luminescent colors painted the heavens as Chris and Nima shared tender smiles. Their hearts full, they set course for home. The ship glided through cosmic distance, buoyed by shared memories. They had journeyed far, but still had much ahead of them. Back on their ship, with Delta IV visible through the viewport, Lila reflected, her chest warming with gratitude. "We've all grown so much," she said aloud, the echoes of the moon blending with her thoughts, "but it feels like our journey is just beginning. We hold the bands of kindness within our hearts from this moment on. What we carry will resonate far beyond ourselves." Nima nodded, smiling softly. "We will nurture our lives with the seeds we've shared. Delta IV showed us the way, but we need to carry it with us wherever we go." Chris placed a hand on each of their shoulders, his voice wrapped in sincerity. "This is where we shine. We'll share these connections. Each encounter will echo forward." Their destination was now painted with dreams of what life could become, nurtured by empathy and compassion, the kind of legacy the universe humbly craved. Lila's heart soared just as high as the little creature, understanding that the greatest adventures were ones shared, teaching them cultivation of not just roots in the ground, but roots in the very fabric of existence. As the ship steered off into the cosmos, the stars blazed brightly above, and the echoes of Delta IV, wrapped in the swirling colors of kindness and love, carried within them endlessly, a tranquil beacon reminding them that home wasn't merely a place, it was a feeling they would nurture together. With hearts brimming with hope and the cherished bond of family, they flew into the unknown, painting the universe with the seeds they had discovered, destined to connect with new worlds yet uncharted, ready to sow more than just their footprints, to cultivate kindness everywhere they would go.